She died over sneakers. The murder of Andrea Campslow and the culture that killed her, Andrea Campslow, wasn't famous. She didn't have millions of followers or a viral moment. What she had was something more real, a heart full of love, a dream of becoming a nurse, and a future she was working hard to build. But on one ordinary day in April 2020, all of that was ripped away. Not because she made a mistake, not because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but because two boys wanted to steal a symbol of status, and didn't care who died in the process. It started like so many sneaker deals do. Through a DM, Andrea was 18, sitting in the front seat of her boyfriend Sergio's Jeep, holding 3 pairs of Adidas Yeezys worth over $900. She was smiling, just minutes away from helping him complete another resale. Sergio had been flipping sneakers as a side hustle, a way to stay afloat when the pandemic closed everything down. Andrea wasn't into sneakers, but she was into him, so she helped with listings, held boxes during drop-offs, and kept him company on meets. But the buyer that day wasn't looking for shoes, he was looking for clout. His name was George Walton, 19 years old, broke, and desperate. Online he projected confidence, but behind the DMS and filters, he had nothing. So he called his friend Adrian Cosby, another 19-year-old known for violent impulses, and together they set a trap. Walton arranged the meet with Sergio through Instagram, dropped a pin, and told him he was ready to buy, but there was no money. Just a plan. Pretend to be a buyer, steal the shoes, and run. When Sergio and Andrea arrived at the location, a hollowed-out, half-rotted house on the edge of Homestead, Florida, nothing felt right. It wasn't a typical sneaker drop spot like a mall or driveway. It was isolated and eerie. But like so many teens in hustle culture, Sergio didn't flinch. These kinds of traits had worked before. Why would this one be any different? As the sun began to set, George Walton approached the driver's side window of the Jeep. He leaned in casually and asked, "Can I try them on?" Sergio, cautious, asked to see the cash first. That's when Adrian Cosby emerged. No words, no hesitation. He raised a gun and fired one shot straight through the open passenger window. The bullet hit Andrea in the torso, right below her ribs. Her body jolted forward. Sergio screamed, grabbed her, and called 911. A second bullet grazed his arm, but he didn't care. With Andrea fading in the seat next to him, he drove fast and frantic, begging for help on the line. "I just need help for her," he told the dispatcher. Please hurry." Andrea was still alive, barely. She threw up. She was conscious enough to feel the pain, but not strong enough to stay awake. Sergio pulled over a few blocks away and waited. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital. He wasn't allowed to ride with her. He never got to say goodbye. Andrea died on the operating table, 18 years old, a nursing student. Killed over shoes she didn't even care about. And the worst part, the killers didn't even take the sneakers. They ran off empty-handed. It wasn't a robbery, it was a pointless, brutal execution. But what George Walton and Adrian Cosby didn't realize was that a doorbell camera, mounted right outside Walton's own home, had captured everything. The footage showed them leaving just before sunset and returning soon after. No sneakers, no money, just two teenagers walking away from a murder like it was nothing. Investigators quickly matched the video timestamps to Sergio's 911 call. They pulled the DIs between Walton and Sergio, which proved the meet was a setup. Cosby's phone pinged near the abandoned lot at the exact time of the shooting. The evidence was airtight. When Adrian Cosby was arrested, he played dumb. "I heard someone got killed," he told detectives. "That's what my mom told me." But the detective didn't need his lies. They had surveillance footage, more than they'd ever seen in one case. When the images hit the courtroom screen during trial, the silence was deafening. Walton and Cosby were charged with second-degree murder, attempted murder, and attempted armed robbery. Neither was granted bond. Prosecutors were unrelenting. Cosby pulled the trigger, but Walton set the plan in motion. In the eyes of the law, they were equally guilty. At trial, Andrea's family sat in the front rows, holding back tears. Sergio took the stand. He sobbed through his testimony as the 911 call was played for the jury. Every word, every plea, every second of Andrea slipping away, the footage from Walton's doorbell cam sealed their fate. Cosby was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life. The judge didn't hold back. Walton erupted in court, cursing, needing to be restrained. The same kid who flexed online couldn't face the cost of his own choices. Andrea's father addressed the court. "There is no forgiveness on this earth for animals like these," he said. "There's only one place they belong, prison. for the rest of their lives, and that's where it ended. But Andrea's death didn't start with George, Walton, or Adrian Cosby. It started with something deeper, something we've all helped create. It started with sneaker culture, once rooted in love for design and sport, now corrupted by status obsession. What used to be a subculture of self-expression has become a dangerous game of clout. West's Yeezy line lit the match. Suddenly, one pair of shoes could resell for thousands. Teens saw the power, the attention, the illusion of worth. For some, flipping sneakers became a business. For others, it became a battlefield. People were killed for Jordans, shot over faux composites, stabbed for Yeezys because the shoes stopped being shoes. They became currency. Proof that you matter. In today's world, teens don't need corners or street cred to hustle, just Wi-Fi and an Instagram account. They DM strangers, meet in empty lots, and make trades without adult supervision. Nobody's teaching them what's safe. Nobody's preparing them for what can go wrong. Andrea and Sergio weren't reckless. They were just teenagers doing what teenagers do, trusting too easily, moving too fast, hoping to build a future, one drop at a time. But in a system that glorifies flexing over feeling, where likes matter more than empathy, they never stood a chance. Andrea wasn't chasing clout. She wasn't even chasing sneakers. She was just being there for someone she loved. She died because two boys were chasing an image. And we built the world that told them that image was everything. Andrea Camps-Lau should be alive. So now we have to ask, how many more have to die before we finally say enough? How many more teenagers have to pay the price for our obsession with status? And how do we teach the next generation that their worth isn't found in what they wear, but in who they are?